I had you against Scott the Waz.
So Scott the Waz!
Yeah.
Wait, Dane, fight.
I would like to see Scott the Wasp fight. That would probably be funny. That sounds cool. He brings out his Nintendo DS and breaks it over his opponent's head. Cafe Con Leche in chat for 5 says, IDubbbz has officially announced plans for Creator Clash 3 on his pod. Do you think he'll lose money? Would you be willing to fight? I probably wouldn't be willing to fight. Did he announce plans for Creator Clash 3? The thing is, the only way that I would fight someone for like a boxing thing would be if I was paid like much more money than I would be worth. I don't think that many people want to pay to see me box. So I don't think they would make a recoup on investment. And the time I would have to invest, because I would want to win, so the time I'd have to invest would not be worth it for the amount of money that they could offer, you know? It would be like an unreasonable amount for business perspectives. Did they say that on this podcast? Oh, they did talk about it.
Just came back. We're recording this. If this podcast is low energy, it's because we've spent probably the past like seven hours of our weekend in meetings for Creator Clash in LA. And we're just cooking on like fighters and getting that stuff kind of going.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually are doing a third one. That's pretty surprising to me. I didn't think we would ever see another Creator Clash at all. I'm really curious how it's going to go. I mean, I'm surprised people are even willing to work with them, especially charities, considering how badly it went last time. But I mean, hopefully they have all their ducks in a row this time and can properly do it. I feel like IDubbbz has lost so much momentum. I feel like he's really irrelevant now. After the disaster of the last one, I feel like he's not going to be able to pull in that many viewers, that many people to go, or like, you know, top tier e-celeb fighters. I mean, we talked about this not even that long ago. I feel like part of the big problem for Creator Clash 2 was most of the names they had weren't big names. They were just seemingly like personal friends or like basically charity cases where like most of the people they had on the card were completely irrelevant. And like, you know, not to shit on them too much, because like I get it, people fall off on YouTube, you know, it happens to the best of us. But if you're running a boxing event for charity where you're trying to get as much money as possible, and you're also running a very expensive operation where you have to like recoup a lot of losses, if you're doing that, it's going to be very difficult to, you know, to recoup the money that you're spending on it and make money for charity with a bunch of like irrelevant people. Like I feel like to do a successful influencer boxing thing, especially now when it's kind of fallen out of favor with the public eye as much and isn't as talked about anymore, you need to have like really, really big names that are really going to pull in a bunch of ticket sales.
So our brains are a little cooked, but we flew home really early this morning at like 7 a.m. We always take the early flights. But yeah, so we were in LA. Had a bunch of business meetings, and then you hung out with Alex Ernst, and I hung out with my friend Kaylee.
Mm-hmm.
And we were out way too late for our early flight, and now my brain is like off.
Yeah. But it was a very productive weekend. I'll have y'all know we're excited to start, you know, reaching out to some of these creators and seeing what we can.
Oh, so they haven't even reached out to the creators yet, I guess. They haven't reached out to the people that are going to be on the on the event yet. I'm curious how it's going to go for them.
Generate.
The good
but we got to keep it on the low.
Well, yeah, I mean, kind of. We are able to like pick a date. We can't share it with you guys, and we were able to kind of like hone in on creators that we want to start courting. The courting relationship of finding fighters. Yeah. And this is the most stressful time for me because like I have this fear that everyone's just gonna like suddenly be like, no, sorry.
Well, I'm trying to remind Anissa like that's what we felt like specifically with the second one. The first one was just like,
yeah, the thing about this is like, because people have asked me like, would you ever fight in Creator Clash 3? I don't think I'd ever be asked to, but let's say I was asked to, okay, hypothetically, in some random world, you know, I guess I'm like vaguely on IDubbbz's radar. If he said that, if he was talking about doing a documentary on a commentary channel and his guy, whatever his name is, the guy who helps their podcast stuff, is it Uncle Dane? He had suggested my name kind of flippantly. If I was invited, I would ask for like way more money than I'm worth in terms of like ticket sales that I would provide. Like I would, the thing is like for boxing stuff to like train for an event like this, you have to train for like, keep in mind, I have zero boxing experience. I have zero fighting experience. I am a pussy. To train for an event like this, I would have to like put a lot of time into it. I would lose a lot of money from not being able to make content with that time. I would probably like, it's like 6 months of boxing training for like this one event. I would probably ask for like hundreds of thousands of dollars, which I'm not worth. I would not bring in that amount of money to the event, but that's the only thing that would make it worth it for me from having to take time off of my job. You know, like I'm 22 now. I just got a house. I'm trying to stack my bread as much as possible. And to be a part of this event, I would have to like take a ton of time off work, make way less money So like the only way that it would be worth it for me is if I could like recoup that money, like the same exact amount that I would make on YouTube through them. So I would ask for like a ridiculous amount of money. I would ask for like $500,000, which I'm not worth. I'm not worth it. That's money that could be better spent elsewhere. So there's no reason I would do that. Like it's like completely unrealistic. There's something super depressing about seeing content creators used to enjoy become husks of their former selves. For example, Ian and Ethan have aged their age 3. Yeah, it is kind of unfortunate, but I think the thing you have to do is just like not get super like mentally attached to these people. Just take into account the fact that like you don't know YouTubers and they could always turn out to be someone different than you thought they were in the future. So you to do steroids? Yeah, I probably would do steroids if I had to compete, unless I did drug testing, in which case I guess I couldn't. But I would probably hop on like some crazy gear so I could get like super shredded and just be a monster. And it's like at that point, like I'm destroying my body for this event. I better get paid a lot. And once again, it's more money than I'm worth. Like the money I would ask is way more than I'm worth. They should have Cyrex fight World of T-shirts for Daniel Larson. That would be funny. I don't know about the ethics of having 2 autistic lol cows fight, but that would be funny. Also, you could take that soy boy IDubbbz easily. Oh, you mean if I fought him? I don't think I could, dude. I don't think I could. You have to understand, like, IDubbbz did lose 2 fights, but he lost fights against people who like weren't like pussies, right? Like if you see him fight in the ring, he's actually not a terrible boxer. He's not that bad. He clearly has some training. And he's also not even that short or small. He's like 6'1", I want to say 6'2". Like he's kind of tall. He's taller than me for sure. He has, multiple fights under his belt. Like I think you're underestimating him a little bit. I don't think he's like an amazing fighter, but like he has trained before. He does have some experience. He has been through the ringer. He has had his head knocked around. I have not. I'm a pussy. I don't think I could beat him in a fight, honestly, to be honest. I don't think I could. You're in way better shape than him, dude. Being like looking kind of jacked has almost nothing to do with your ability to fight. If you've ever seen videos of like really big dudes who have no experience fighting small dudes who have a lot of experience, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Like just because I have like biceps does not mean that I'm a good fighter. In fact, it means very little. Maybe in a one-on-one against somebody who's completely untrained and is like 100 pounds in my height, I would win. But apart from that, like against anyone with any real fighting experience, I would lose. And so would anyone generally who doesn't have any experience boxing. Like it doesn't really matter. Biceps can fight against you. Yeah, true. Like just because I can like curl a certain amount of weight doesn't mean that I'm going to be a great fighter at all. My cardio is bad. Like I would gas out super quick. I've never thrown a punch in my life, so I would have to train and learn that. Like it's like learning to walk again from the ground up. This is not like it's super. It's not like, oh, you would just roast that guy. It's like, not really, It's not that simple. You got to keep in mind time they pay for some training for you. Well, I mean, even if they did, it's like, that's not, the money I lose from not being at my job is like insane in comparison to like the time I would have to spend training. Like it's just not, and like you don't even make money from the event generally, so it just doesn't make sense to do that.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But the second time felt the same way where it's like, oh,
fighters.
yeah.
And this is the most stressful time for me because like I like hone in on creators that we want to start courting. The courting relationship of finding fighters.
Yeah.
And this is the most stressful time for me because like I have this fear that everyone's just going to like suddenly be like, no, sorry.
Well, I'm trying to, remind Anissa, like that's what we felt like, specifically with the second one. The first one was just like a long, confusing process anyway.
Yeah.
But the second time felt the same way where it's like, oh, it's like, what if people lose steam or they aren't that serious about it kind of thing.
There's just like a paranoia with it. So, but yeah, we started courting people today. We went through, it was like a 5-hour draft session where we sat down and like went over all these different creators because the list is long. I said this on stream once, so I'll share it here, but we had a list of...
Who could they even get at this point? I'm not saying that every creator hates them. I think a lot of creators generally view them favorably and probably feels like the audience unjustly hates them for becoming better people. But like, who would even be willing to do this? Instead of IDubbbz, could you beat Anissa? I don't know. Probably not. Who knows? She probably has boxing experience or something.
Like, it was about like 96 creators or almost 100 creators. So it's like narrowing it down and then figuring out who to court.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's big and small, There's a lot of, I don't know, personalities, different levels of like recognizable and not.
Yeah, and then there's skill level, athleticism.
There's
like,
so much.
I feel like you should really be trying to get, like, on average, like, if they have, like, a spreadsheet, you should be trying to get the people who are the most athletic, like, across the board, or the least athletic across the board. And then also everybody needs to have, like, the maximum number of followers. Like, you shouldn't be taking on, like, the little guys, right? You shouldn't be taking on someone with, like Frogan, not that you would ever fight, but someone with, like, 100 average Twitch followers, like, you should not, or average viewers on Twitch, you should not be taking on. You got to have, like, a viewer threshold minimum so you can, like, gauge the amount of tickets they're going to bring in.
Yes.
Am I on there?
You are, Dane. You're number 5, my number 5 pick. I want you to fight Demolition D.
I'll beat his ass.
I had you against Scott the Waz.
So Scott the Waz.
Yeah.
Wait, Dane, fight.
I would like to see Scott the Wasp fight. That would probably be funny. That sounds cool. He brings out his Nintendo DS and breaks it over his opponent's head.
Fight Scott the Waz.
Yeah.
If I got in shape, I'd probably look like him.
Really?
So
Wow.
it would be like a mirror match.
Yeah. You guys could come out in Spider-Man outfits and point at each other. That's the
That'd be so
opening.
cool.
That would actually kind of be sick.
That would be so awesome. No, I'm never gonna box ever.
Aw.
Not for you, not for nobody.
What the crap, Dane?
Yeah, I've
Sorry.
heard that before.
Yeah, we always change their minds. We'll get you in the ring.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who do you think would get in the ring first, Dane or Ethan Klein?
Bruh. Ethan.
Ethan, 100%.
It's got to be Ethan. Even though there's some clip of Ethan talking about how much he's like, I want to be honest, exercise is a waste of time. I hate it. Why would I ever spend my life exercising? It's like, bro, it'll make your life way better. I promise it'll cure half of your depression if you just exercise.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
I feel like we could convince you. You don't have
forget to
children
stretch your
yet.
biceps. True.
I think
Good
it's not.
point.
It's not necessarily. I think the reasons that me and Ethan are saying no to you is are different. I think that he uses his family life as like a pretty big excuse, but I think you could probably break that down. Like you could be like, oh,
Break it down.
It's gonna be like less than a year of your life.
If this actually happens, if I'm allowed to film, maybe I'll go there and do a Tom IRL video. If I would be allowed, like if you can get like a press pass or something, I would film the whole event. That would probably be funny. I wouldn't become a part of it, but I would go there and film it as like an audience member.
Life.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, and it will be like something that you'll remember forever or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, a forever memory. We need to start
Yeah.
saying that to people.
Yeah, that's really like that's something.
Yeah.
Like thinking about in those terms, like like have you like what are some big events in your life? Like this is going to be one of those.
It's like
you
a
know?
second wedding.
It's a second.
Talking about how they're gonna court and manipulate people into going to their event. All right. Well, Creator Clash 3 is happening. I guess we'll see how that goes. I'm very curious. What would your WWE and wrestling name be, Tom? The Never Gooner. Definitely the Never Gooner. Something along those lines I think would be good. Well, that's interesting to look at for sure.